Hello my little spangy wangy Spangelians, Spangeliers, Spangebobs, all the other Spange names. I know, I really need to settle on one, don't I? Anyway, as you guessed by the title of this video, I have some pretty big news to tell you. And before I do get to telling you that news, I figured there's no point telling you guys this news if you guys don't have some sort of backstory about me. So I thought it'd be the perfect time to just tell you a little bit more about myself. I know it might be a bit boring for some of you or a lot of you, and it's a bit weird to do because, you know, I'm just a normal gal. And so telling you some of these things, yeah, it does feel a bit weird having a YouTube channel and telling random people who I love. I sincerely love you all. Information about my life and how I grew up. And what I thought I'd do is also share with you my musical journey, how I got into the type of music I'm into and how I got to where I am today with my job at a music magazine. So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit more about myself and then we'll get to the news at the end, the secret. Firstly, I need something from you. I need your help. In my job, I promote artists, musicians, and if you know, if you have a friend in an upcoming band, maybe they do already have some attention, that's great. Or if you yourself are in a band, or if you know of a band that really needs some more attention, this is for my work. Also for my YouTube, it'd be cool to feature some new artists, but this is for my work. If you think they need a bit of promo, or if they've reached out to you and you know they're trying to get some promo, please send me an email. I will leave my email down below. Or you can contact me through Instagram. That's the best way to send me the bands. You know, if they have a little profile on Instagram, that'd be great to check them out that way too. The online magazine that I work for has a huge reach globally, and we are looking for global artists, not just Australian artists. Predominantly in the metal genre. We are a heavy metal magazine, but we don't just cover heavy metal, but we're kind of in that vein. We have all different types of promo. We do have free options as well as pay packages that can extend your reach. So please, all I'm asking is if you know a band or if you're in a band that would like a bit of promo, please let me know and I can send you more information as well about the magazine I work for and their numbers and that sort of thing. Yeah, thanks. So, I'm sorry if you don't want to hear all this, you can just skip ahead to this time frame to find out my big news. But anyway, I thought I'd take you way back to the beginning of my life and not tell you everything, but just tell you enough so you can build a picture of me and my musical interests and how this all really started. I was born in a suburb of Sydney, middle class, to an Australian mother and a father who is an immigrant. So my father was actually born in Iraq. He did grow up there a little bit and then he spent the rest of his life growing up in the UK. His father was a petroleum engineer. My grandfather was working in Iraq at the time. That's how my father came to be born there. So why I'm telling you so much about my dad is that because he spent time growing up in England, he was a part of the punk revolution and he was fully, I might throw up a picture, he was fully involved in the scene. He was a photographer and he'd go to lots of gigs and photograph some pretty well-known punk bands and it was really cool. So naturally I take a lot of inspiration from my dad's music. He's a big punk fan. You know, Buzzcocks, Sex Pistols, he likes Motorhead as well, that sort of thing. And yeah, he did look the part as well, which I always thought was pretty cool. My dad also gave me a few other influences musically, like Hank Williams and a few Irish musicians because his father was Irish. But then also, funnily enough, like my dad loved Fatboy Slim and like the Chemical Brothers, a lot of English influences there. He actually went to the same school that Radiohead went to, crazy, but he didn't know them. Anyway, I'm not a huge fan of Radiohead and neither was my dad, to be honest, but yeah, I just thought that was a weird, cool coincidence. And I have a story about Lemmy from Motorhead. One day, allegedly, my dad used to see Lemmy around everywhere. He must have lived in the same area that he did at the time. And one day my dad said, "Hey Lemmy, how you going?" And he said, "Yeah, good." And then Lemmy tried to sell my dad his crusty old like sunglasses. And my dad was like, "Oh no, thank you." But in my head, I'm like, "Dad, why didn't you take the bloody sunglasses? Anyway, would have been so cool if I could have shown you guys that. So yeah, you can imagine Dad had some pretty cool stories growing up in the punk scene, photographing some really cool bands. My mum's influence was sort of similar but also different. My mum loved The Cure. She loved Red Hot Chili Peppers. Red Hot Chili Peppers were my first concert, by the way. Bit cringe now, but I loved them back in the day, before I knew everything about Anthony Kiedis. Yikes! Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins. Love Smashing Pumpkins. She would always play them. I remember, I have a clear memory, and my dad will remind me of this. My parents really liked Nirvana, and I was so little. I think I was really little, like I think a toddler, but I remember clearly my parents would play Smells Like Teen Spirit or another song, and I would cover my ears because I found it, you know, so aggressive and so loud, and I couldn't stand it, and I'd like start crying, like I can't, like this, what is this music? Like put the Wiggles back on, even though I didn't like the Wiggles, but you know, some of the 90s kids musical duo or throuple or whatever. But as I grew older, they became one of my staple favorite bands. I've seen everything of theirs, you know, the MTV Unplugged. How can you not love it? Absolutely love it. Work of art. My parents would religiously watch a music TV program that was on at the time, very popular. It was called Rage, very popular in Australia, and it was on Sunday mornings, I believe, or Saturday mornings, or both. Anyway, it was always on. Also, I remember very clearly my dad loved the Beatles, and Hard Day's Night has stuck with me as one of those bands, songs from when I was little that I can just recall. Like, do you guys have those bands that you just like, or those songs that you're like, this song has been with me throughout my whole life, whether you like it or not? It's like something that you can recall from when you were really little. Hard Day's Night by the Beatles, that song is that for me. Anyway, neither of my parents could sing or play an instrument really, but they loved music, so that's really where everything all started. Moving forward, I had a happy childhood. My parents did divorce when I was a few years old, but they were very amicable and they remained really, really close friends after they split. So it luckily didn't really have an effect on me, but I had a lot of friends whose parents had divorced, and I can only imagine how hard and how upsetting it would have been if your parents maybe weren't in such a great position after divorcing or separating. Fast forward, I am my nano. She was my French-Italian grandma. She passed away, and she actually also was an influence on my dad's music. She was a teacher, and she loved Jimi Hendrix and David Bowie. And at that time, you know, for women to express, especially teachers, to express a love for those artists was a little bit different. But yeah, you know, she liked what she liked, and she was very cool, and I miss her so much. Then, a couple of years later, a traumatic event involving losing one of my parents occurred. I say traumatic because the nature of how they passed was horrific, and it means that I now do not fully recall my childhood, and this even continues today. I have trouble recalling memories from when that happened right up until my teenage years, because as a way of dealing with grief, I blocked out memories. In fact, when it all happened, taking the mindset of it wasn't really happening to me in order to protect myself, if that makes any sense. Like, it wasn't really happening. This person hadn't passed away. That was the only way I could continue to get through life. And this all happened right before my formative teenage years. So as you can imagine, all that grief, all that trauma, sadness, the only escape that I felt I had was my music. The only thing that was a constant in my life was music. I would say it also did influence my musical choices at the time. I did tend to like more emotional ballads, you could say, emotional songs. And that was also when the whole emo scene thing really funnily at the same time started taking off. So I really involved myself in that scene. I guess I'll show you a photo. And one of my favorite bands that I have loved all my adult life, My Chemical Romance, I actually didn't like as a teenager because I thought they were posers. I thought that they were, you know, trying so hard to be emo. And little did I know that they had so many great songs beyond the Black Parade that was being flogged on the radio. Yes, I'm back on a different day filming. My phone ran out of storage. Apologies. I promise I'm going to try and wrap this up now because I think I've been talking about myself for quite a while and probably said a few things that you guys really didn't need to know. But anyway, beyond my teenage years, in my teenage years, I went to a boarding school in the country, in country New South Wales, and it was the worst time of my life. And what's funny, I think, is that people often that haven't been to boarding school are often like to me, oh, it sounds so fun, it's like Harry Potter. No, it was like a military camp for girls. That's what it was like. It was awful. I hated being there. I was like a couple of hours away from my home, and I would come back on the weekends. And I had friends, but it was just incredibly strange going from a middle class upbringing, going to a normal public school, to then going to a boarding school where there was just wealth. Everyone had wealth, and it was crazy and strange, and everyone was riding horses and all of this stuff, and it just was not my thing. Eventually I did move to another boarding school but closer to my home, and I could see my dad whenever I wanted, so that was better. Anyway, then after school, I had done an entertainment course at school, and I really enjoyed that. But then I wanted to do something creative, so I got into makeup artistry, and I worked at a pretty well-known Australian makeup chain and loved it for a few years. And I also managed to work backstage at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, which was amazing. I stood right next to Bella Hadid at the time, and I had no idea who she was, and she had one or two security guards around her, and she was smoking. This was like outside the back, like before you go in sort of thing. And I remember the person I was with saying, did you know who that was? And I'm like, no. And they're like, it's Bella Hadid. I'm like, oh my God. Had to go home and Google who that was. But anyway, I did makeup for a while, and then I sort of lost my passion for it, sadly. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna go to uni or do a few courses. I've always loved English. I want to be a writer, and I had always wanted to be a writer since I was little. I've loved making up stories, writing stories, reading, love it all. The first course I did was in music promotion and production at Berklee College in the USA, not the crazy smart Berklee College. It's like Berklee College of Music, and I loved it. And I loved the crossover from when I had done entertainment at school to this touring and promotion course. It was amazing. I clicked with it. I learned everything about ticketing, sales, like who makes money at the end of tours and things like that. After that course, I did a degree in creative writing, and that was great, loved that. And then I was like, I really want to do something music focused. I applied at 2 different radio stations for jobs in 2 different, I lived in one area at one time and then moved to a rural area, and both times they didn't take me on for whatever reason, probably because my voice is strange and whatever. So that was a huge letdown, and I thought maybe I shouldn't be doing this, maybe, you know, this isn't for me. And then everything changed when I got in contact with the magazine I currently work at, and I sent them through some of my work and they loved it. And that was the first sort of opportunity I got to prove to myself and show my work, and that I did know what I was doing. And my manager just trusted me from day dot. And then it slowly went from doing album reviews and doing pieces like when bands release new albums or songs, then on to interviews. And I was freaking out when my manager asked if I wanted to do interviews. You know, of course, at first I was like, oh, I don't love being on camera. I didn't love being on camera at that time. And I wasn't a strong talker, interacting with people. So it was a huge, huge learning curve. And now I think I'm at the point where I can relax. I can go back and forth with the person I'm interviewing, and you know, it's not just a one-sided conversation anymore. And so far it's the best job I've ever had. I feel like so creatively free, and I really feel like I get to express the best parts of my knowledge and my work. It's awesome, it's amazing, best thing I've ever done. And of course I like talking to musicians. It's amazing, and I pinch myself every day at some of the people I've been able to talk to and interact with. And then if we fast forward even more, we get to today, and I've got this YouTube channel, and it's helped me so much with my confidence. That's why I wanted to start it. It's helped me with my work and interviewing people, just being a little more comfortable in front of the camera. So I just wanted to thank all of you guys for making this a dream come true, making me feel comfortable and welcome, and for encouraging me. In saying all that, I think it's now time for me to share with you my news. So I'm pregnant. I know that was a really terrible angle and you probably couldn't see, but yeah, I've already got a few kids, and this one was not planned. Did not want another kid. This one will be loved. And we will just go with the flow. So it just means that I will start to slow down uploading. I know I already am really lazy with my uploading. I promise to try and get videos out when I can and keep responding to each and every one of you. Pregnancy is always hard for me, not having both parents around. Especially my first pregnancy, I found it really, really difficult mentally to go through the stages of pregnancy, and then also obviously after having a newborn that I had literally no idea what to do with. Luckily my partner is really supportive. He's from a big family, and so he just took the reins, and he was so great and supportive and wonderful. I think that's also why, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been quite out of breath sometimes. But yeah, I thought I'd share that news with you guys. There is actually a lot of people in my life that I haven't told yet, just because I'm nervous to tell them, nervous about their reactions about me having another kid. And I probably should mention, I'm like nearly 14 weeks in like a day or 2 days. So yeah, I am really honored that I feel safe enough to tell you guys. In real life I don't have a lot of friends anyway. It's been so nice that I can finally share my news with someone and not worry about being judged. I think that's why I was really excited to tell you guys. Also, please keep your suggestions coming for bands you'd like to see me react to. Yeah, I need more ideas. I've already covered a couple of bands a couple of times. I know there's still a few that I need to do again, and I will do that. But please, if there's any new bands, or even if they're the bands I've already covered and you still really want to see me react to them, please let me know down below. All right, that's it from me. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you if you watched the whole thing and learned my whole life story. I really appreciate it. And I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.